Hi guys. Not sure how many people. How many people are on mode? There's a few people watching. Before I get started, I'm going to play a video that I showed earlier to my patrons, and to give you a bit of a so you could. Well, the problem I've got is this. Like, there's the monitor, and just the colour's been a bit of an issue, right? So as you can see, there's the monitor, which is oyster white, right? And under it is my Amiga 1000, which is really aged and kind of gone dark. And everyone's saying, well, I'll get the colour right. And the colour's an absolute nightmare. But on the left, you can see I've got an Amiga 600, which is almost the same colour. So getting that right balance of colour is going to be a nightmare. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video, because as you can see, it's built. I'm going to take the little camera around so you can see around the back. But before I go retro team, good, right? Before I do that, I'm just going to show you a video, which, as I said, I put live for my patrons, and this will give you a bit of a. You can hear the sound. It's not perfectly recorded. It's done off my phone. But the speakers in this, they've got 4-inch speakers in this, and they sound absolutely fantastic. In fact, they're too loud. Those ones either side might not be needed anymore. Anyway, so without further ado, let me just play this, and I'll come back after and we'll have a chat. Okay, here we go. Volume, we've got to set this volume a bit low because it's a bit loud. It's got quite a nice bass actually. Have a look over the top. Busy down the back. So if I put these two, these are just empties. I put some sound deadening material on the metal, and I think these may be acting as like a woofer input. Probably not, but you know. But it does seem to be quite nice and bassy. Let's have a look, see if we can play with sound. Got to try and remember how to use this now, because it's okay. Right, let me go. What we got? Sound mode user, surround sound. Oh yeah, because it gets crazy with the surround sound on. Let's have a look. This might be fun. There you go. I actually can't really tell with this. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't say this, but I do actually think this is a really nice monitor. I've also managed to push the side in, and I'll get that flat before we go. But remember, it won't be an issue on the final product. It's only because it's a prototype and I didn't support it. Let's try to turn it. As Alfie would say, got cobwebs in here. I'm gonna have a go at plugging in all kinds of things, and there we go. That'll do anyway. Right. Sorry, I'm monitoring at the same time here. Right. So hopefully that's gonna give you a bit of an idea what the speakers is. You know, you've got to hear them. I mean, as I've always said, I'm not an audiophile, but I kind of know what I like the sound of, and this sounds way better than the old speakers that we used to have. It's really annoying because the guy recommended these speakers, I've forgotten his name, I'm sure if he's on, he'll point that out. But I experimented with lots. So as you can see, I've been building these little speaker cabinets. They've all got kind of padding inside them to deaden the internal vibrations and what have you. And so these were little tiny ones I had from China. These I really like even now. These are not the ones in there. These are only 3-inch, but they actually sound fantastic. And this is what's in them now. So you can see the difference between the two. But you can't, sizes and everything, she cried. But these are what's in there now, and they're 4-inch, and they just work really nice. And I'm going to show you some pictures. Let me get you some pictures up. Let me just double the screen up to chat. Is it this one? Here we go. What I want to cover first of all, you probably noticed there's a gap where the plastic doesn't quite meet the edge. Don't worry about that. It was a bit bent, and this version, when the final one comes, the front and the back will lock into each other, and it will locate. So the rear will locate into the bezel, and it will straighten itself up. So don't worry about that. But yeah, it was really annoying when it turned. In fact, what was worse than that, they put some parts loose inside the rear panel, and it had shaken, and it had broken part of the plastic off. But my wife's a genius with super glue, and she managed to fix that one up, so that's all good news. So yeah, don't ignore that. Although it is actually better now because I've kind of squished it a bit, and it's kind of settled in. But yeah, so that's just in case you're wondering what that is. On the colour subject, it's been mentioned because the trouble is that when you see me take pictures of the models, it's in various lighting, so it all looks different. But when you put it next to like the 1000 in this terrible light, well, no, because I've got this changing colours, it looks huge difference in colour. But when you put it under bright lights, it just looks it is bright, obviously. But when you stick it next to a 600, as you can see on this picture here, it's not far off because it's the oyster white. It's the same colour as my other cases, so of course it'll match that. And I'm still agonising, do I make it a little bit more beige to suit other models? I'm really torn at the moment. I know Paul, who's just turned up, he says no, leave it. But again, it's that. But whatever colour you choose, it will be wrong. So people have asked, can I do a few colours? No, I can't. I can do 2 colours, and even that is an absolute headache for stock, because people don't realise I have to stock all this stuff. So it is very tricky. But yes, I'm going to go through and talk about that. So anyway, on here we'll do some pictures of the interior so you can see what's kind of going on. So as you can see here, I've fitted the 2 4-inch speakers. The metal, you can see that under the metal work, they're just hiding in there nicely. What I had forgotten, I put the metal frame on, and I forgot to do this. It's a bit rough and ready. I'm trying to decide if it's something I should do on all the monitors, but it does seem to make a difference. So because it's solid metal behind it, I didn't want the sound vibrating the metal, and so I put this material, which would be a nice sound deadening. And the speakers do sound, in my ears, they sound very good. They are good speakers anyway, and they're not overly expensive, but they are quite good speakers. And it gets inside that case. It's surprising I can't turn the volume up because my little boy's in the other room and he's asleep, so we can't. Hence that video. But the speakers, this is why I'm doing the OLL show. If you want to know what it's like, come along to that show, because I'll be demonstrating it, turning the volume right up, etc. And so that can gets really loud. I mean, we most we can put this on is about 10. It's absolutely crazy. It goes up to 100. So it's actually quite. And you think it distorts? It doesn't distort. It just gets louder and louder and louder and louder. And you can play with the bass settings and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually really good. Let's go on to the next picture. So we've got that one. And then once you've got the frame in, as you can see, the metal, it's not a plastic frame, it's a metal frame, same as my cases. It's powder coated, same colour, because I like the internal metal work to look as nice as the plastic on the outside. So when you open it up, you see this quality, hopefully quality product. And that's what I'm trying to do. The same thing with the monitors. And you can see here we've got the front panels actually fixed into place, and you can see at the bottom, I'm pointing to it, God knows why, but you can see at the bottom of that little circuit board, that's the this board here. Again, the final version will have nice little buttons, and probably a completely new button bar. One of the problems we've got with the button bar, and you can see I put a little bit of tape over because people moan about the blue because it's like really bright. So I think when they make it, they expect you to put it behind something that's going to darken it. But we're going to make our own with a different LED, and so. But that's again, it's a prototype, and also this panel's empty. It's not meant to be empty. It's gonna. I did actually make a copy of a sample with the USB, but it came out and it was rubbish. So I couldn't. I've got to try and do that one again. Try and print that again. But yeah, as you can see, what's the next picture? So what I've done is, I see inside. So here's the board. Now it's important to understand this is just hardwired. Now because of the way this is done, it's great for a prototype, but it is creating a bit of noise on some of the video signals. So I'm probably going to get some. You won't see this, but we are having a proper board made that sits above the main board there, instead of all these phono connectors with cabling going to it. There'll be a circuit board, and then it'll be just cables plugging into that circuit board, so it'll be much better for keeping noise down, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be much better made. But yeah, so that will break out, and all these ports work. So on the left hand side, let me put the mouse on it. Yeah, here we go. Here, this is the stereo out, so the speakers, it works. You plug the speakers from out. At the moment, it doesn't turn off the internal speakers because it's a phono. So for streaming, you could send it to streaming, and so I might consider see if we can put some circuitry on there to turn the internal ones off. Give you an option to turn them off, but still have the external ones. I see this is really good for if you want to do streaming, because if you put, like, for example, a composite in, there's also a composite out, so you can have two composite ins with a single pair of audio and one composite out, and so you could stream that out with the composite and the and with the stereo as well into a streaming rig, if that's what you wanted to do. Yes, I mean that's just composite, but there's others. But I think that would make a nice little setup. So that's that. And the middle section is the two composites on the outside and the stereo audio. Now the two composites share that stereo input, and on the right hand side is the component input. Now again, as I said before, the built-in component is wonderful. The only problem is it's only doing interlace, so 480p or 570p. It doesn't do non-interlace, so you can't get 240p's, which is why we have this adapter board, and you can put in a RetroTink, okay, and then it's up to you. You can put in component, whatever you want, Super VHS, and plug it in, and it comes out in HDMI and goes internally. So that's how that's going to work. Now, I suppose one thing that I think that's the last picture. Oh no, here you go. Here it is sitting inside. Picture at the back, and you can see that rather hanging in the air. That's again, this is the prototype. Do bear this in mind, it's a prototype, and we will have a neat breakout board. But so I've got these really big chunky wires going onto that plug on the back, which is my 5-volt output, and I'm running that an 8 amp 12-volt power pack into it, and the board gives off a couple of rows of 2 or 3 amp each 5-volt lines, so you can power anything you like, and I've got it joined into one, then I split it if you need it. Now the reason I've done that is it's going to be hard to show you this, but I can show you on here. I've got one of these in it. So inside is a mister, not in that box, but I think I've shown pictures of this before. In fact, actually, let me call that picture up, and I'm going to take the camera over in a minute, and what we'll do is let's go Facebook, and I'll show you a picture. What we got going on in the world. Anytime you want to get there, that'd be great. Where's the picture? Here you go. So this is what's actually in the board in this computer now. In fact, that's what's running. So this is Mist running the Mist Core running on the D10 Nano. It's just a Mister, and so that what you see in that picture is now running in that. I haven't been up until now. I'll be showing you all the connections. Now they're still there. So if you look at the back in a minute, all the connections, the base connections are still there. And I've got this as a double decker setup. You don't have to, but I've got some others which I thought would be quite fun to show you. Let me change view actually. Here we go. So here's another double decker. The reason for that double decker is because people ask, can you put in an ice pack? So there's a nice Raspberry Pi that would drop straight into it. Another option is this, which I bought the other day. You can't get them, can you? So this is a CM4 sitting on one of their I/O boards, but it just takes up a single bay. Just have a nice heatsink on it, and it's a single bay. So you could put two in there. Again, depends on what inputs you're going to use. But that's, I haven't booted this up yet, but I'm gonna pop that in, probably one of them. So it's really flexible what you can do with this thing. So I'll tell you what I'll do is, hopefully this little screen's big enough. Let me take this. In fact, I'll tell you what I will do. I'll put my light on. Oh look, studio. And then I'll come back and I'll do some questions. Right. So, it's a bit bright. I'll turn it round anyway. There you go. So, what we can see here, as you can see at the top, make sure you can see it. At the top is the my internal HDMI cable broke, so I'm having to patch it on the outside. But normally it would be the HDMI would be on the inside. But you can see it's quite busy, but the bottom board has got is the standard I/O, and then the top one is the Mister. So there's fair bit of kit inside that case. Let's turn that round, shall we? There we go. Watch a bit of Enigma, my little boy's favourite demo. Alright, let's turn that off. Yeah, so they will take these monitors. So you can use it as a monitor, and obviously somewhere I have got. Did I not bring it down? That's annoying. I thought I brought it down. That is annoying. I didn't bring down the GBS with the. I've set it to one side to bring it down as well. Well, you've seen it anyway. So you can put, like, for example, so this one's actually going to come when I demo. It's going to have the baseboard in it. It's going to have the GBS and the new firmware control on a little board made by Byron, who's watching. I won't be a little board that Byron's made. So it absolutely makes a difference, which means you can plug in, if you're an Amiga fan, you can plug in RGB Amiga. SCART RGB, which is brilliant. And anything with a SCART RGB input you can plug into this thing, which is going to be absolutely amazing. I've had it run upstairs and it works great. And then if you need more, let's say you want Super VHS and you've got one of these, or you can get yourself a little RetroTink, they're not too expensive. This little carrier, you can pop that in and connect it internally on the power. You saw the power line will power this quad. This takes nothing, and away you go. You can power internally for HDMI. So there's some nice ways of using the monitor. Now, probably one of the best bits is this. I wasn't sure about the handle. I mean, I'm not doing with that because it's all plugged in. But this does get quite heavy with the metal in it and everything in it. It's actually quite a heavy beast. But the handle's better than I thought. I didn't expect it being as good as this. And so that actually works really well, and I'm really pleased with that handle. Actually, surprisingly pleased. I mean, because the other one I used to have to carry it everywhere like that, and especially going up in the loft, because I've got like a workshop up in the loft. And now I just sling it behind me, climb upstairs, lift it up, pop, stick it down. If I want to turn it round, having a handle. Who'd have thought that was a good idea? Oh yeah, the same ones that are trying to claim that they've made an all-in-one computer. Yeah, patent that. That's a good idea. But yeah, as I think I mentioned this before, my only concern at the moment is that, well, let me get on camera. Is this bit too high? I don't know. I'm considering lifting this a little bit and then lifting it just to kind of shrink that height. But the other thing, when they turned up, I hate this. I don't hate it, but you probably see it better on here. I did the bezels. This is the 17-inch version, but I did the bezels too shallow, and it kind of spoils the look. So it's okay. It works. Well, it will do when I put it on there. But I think the bezel's too shallow, so I'm gonna obviously if it goes to Kickstarter, I'll make the bezels a bit deeper, like 45 degrees or something like that. It'll still be as wide as that, but I think it just didn't look quite right. It could just be me, because you'll be able to see if you come to the show. But then I got my logo on it, as you can see here. I've got my logo. And these little holes here, again, these will have buttons and be a bit neater. That there is obviously fake, but that's just to show you that the power button will be there. I do want the power button there like that. But as you can see at the back, you see this screw. So they screw from the rear, and this bolts onto it. You can see I've got a kind of a locator system here, but it's not good enough, and I need to do a much better locating system, because it's not. If it doesn't stop it doing that, it stops it moving inwards. It doesn't stop it moving outwards. So I've got to do something to kind of lock into that. But that's what prototyping is all about. The other thing is, if you see here, which is the utility panel. This is a stupid idea. I did these clips, so you clip it in, but of course with this it's rigid and it won't move. So I'm going to go do the same things as I've done here, probably screw holes and just put it in there, screw it in up, and you can have some USB OLED panel, little displays or whatever you want in there. I'll see if you can notice the problem. My wife fixed it, but you can probably see just here. Yeah, there's a little bit of broke off in the corner. These were broken. There was a couple of these snapped clean out. She did an amazing job fixing it. So that's all now patched up, ready for me to put another. And I made a few little mistakes on the metalwork, just putting holes in the wrong place. Christ knows how I've got it wrong. But anyway, so out comes the drill. You can see we've got the stand to give you an idea what it will look like with the stand, as you can see over there. But this one doesn't move. It's going to be a stretch goal. The moving stand's going to have to be a stretch goal, because I don't want to stop the project just because we don't meet the stretch goal. So if we don't meet the first stretch goal, then there'll be no stand. If we do, there'll be a nice rotating stand, and if we meet the next stretch goal, then it'll be the 17-inch panels, and that's how it's going to work. A lot of people are asking me about specifications of panels. I'm not going to tell you yet. I haven't changed my mind. I'm still using the same one. Anyone who's seen these panels, they're absolutely fantastic, especially if you watched on that video when I was kind of over there, and it still looked fantastic. That's because they're IPS. So the quality of the panel's really good. I'll give more details. Well, I'll give all the details when it comes to the Kickstarter. So you'll get all that. You'll get the spec sheets and everything. But it's just a standard panel, a good quality standard panel. It's bloody expensive panel. Because I'm not buying a cheap one, because you can't get a good IPS panel that's cheap. It doesn't happen. A lot of these systems out there, like the arcade 1UP boards, they just put these cheap panels, and they're fine. If you're looking at it, but you go around it, they're but these are really solid, and plus they're industrial usage ones as well, so they're designed to be on all the time, which means they'll last a lot longer. But yeah, so that's a go. Well, let's have a look, see if we've got any questions here. Good evening, bought a ting. The more I think about it, more I think the monitor should look like a Checkmate case, new beige. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't think it would hurt if it was slightly darker. Oh, hang on, there goes the camera again. Let's put that back on again. I don't think it would matter too much, but that's something to. Again, I might do a poll. But that's one of the things I'm agonising about. Is the colour. Yeah, yes, absolutely right. The viewing angles are amazing, as you've seen from the video, and it's actually in the flesh. It's even better, and also the sound. I mean, I'm really surprised now, especially I think because of. I wish I could remember his name. The guy who could give me his help with the speakers, and when we was discussing about because I didn't realise you had to. Because I don't do speakers, I didn't realise you had to seal the front from the back, and also so I put some sound deadening in. So that's why when I did that original video, and I just stack them on the side, and I thought, and then I built these, and I built lots of these little speaker packs and filled them with foam, sound deadening foam. And then, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sell speakers, but they were quite good to test the speakers, to give me some ideas. You can see they've got their little port in the back. So that was quite a useful experience, and I've kind of taken that and put it in the thing now. As you probably know, on the let me see if I can get some pictures. Let's grab some pictures. I know I've got some here. Right, so you can see the hang on. Right, so you can see the speaker grill. You can see the speaker grill there is around. Now, there's no way that will pull out of a mould. So that's not what it's going to be like. This is just for prototyping to test the speakers and the sound, how the sound reacts inside the case. And as you remember, I put that foam at the back, and it does seem to sound pretty good. So I'm quite pleased with this personally. I mean, I've got a 1084 over there, and I've got a 1084 ST upstairs, which is rubbish for audio. That's quite nice. They've got quite nice speakers in there, but I'd say this is a lot better. So it's the best. I mean, it was better than my TV. I don't know what more I can say. It's better than my TV downstairs. That's you get a nice, rich sound from it. But you have to make your own mind up when you see it. But again, the way it's looking at the moment is the speakers will not be standard, okay? Because and now this thing is not going to be cheap to make. All right. I'm not giving you prices. I know I've kind of given some ideas, but I'm not giving prices until the Kickstarter. I've pretty much nailed it in my head. I've got this spreadsheet and it's all worked out. But the speakers will be part of an extra. I like doing extras pack because I can make a little bit more money on the extras, which really does help because the profit margins on the Kickstarter not particularly huge, 20-25%. So you have to be very careful. So the extras are where you make can make some profit and make up for things. So I'll be doing that, but I'll also be doing the GBS 8200 complete boards. They're probably about 40 quid to pop that in, which is as you know, those parts you can build your own, and you can buy one of the little adapters, but the board from Byron will be coming from me. So although I don't mind people making their own, but it'd just be cheaper if you got it from me. But yeah, so those speakers are temporary. I'm still kind of trying to decide how I'm doing now, because I have to make it so that rear panel will pull out of a mould, but still have speakers in there. So I've got ideas. One of my ideas, I doubt it will come out. One of my ideas is to make it so you fits there's a big hole, and then you pop these in, fix them into place. But maybe be able to angle them slightly so that I know won't be the first one that's ever done this, but maybe allow you to angle the position of how you want them sat. That's one idea. It probably won't happen. It'll probably just be a rounded part that we just sit in there and just push in and screw in from the back or something like that, and then maybe do 3-inch and 4-inch to give you an option. But yeah, so that's really there just to see just to experiment with sound. And I'm quite happy with that. I mean, I think they sound absolutely fantastic. Will the colour of this monitor darken over time like older beige gear? It shouldn't do, because it's got this special material. They look very dark in this picture, don't they? They're not that dark. It's still oyster white, but this is what I mean by about lighting is everything. They've got this anti-UV material in them, so they won't react to the ultraviolet light, so they won't go yellow or anything like that. The prototypes do, that's why I get them sprayed, but not the final parts. They will not. Please no beige, people retro bright. Yeah, I know. The colours really are quite sharp on this panel. The colours are beautiful. You have to see it in the flesh. It's like buying one of these QLED TVs from an advert on an old 1080p panel. It is actually really good. And I have to turn the dim it right down so you can see it. But it's amazing quality. But I love it. I mean, I just think it's fantastic. In fact, the 17 and the 17 and 19s are from the same make, and they are really good quality. So, but they cost. The panel's like $100 each for both. And that it doesn't include a controller. It's expensive parts. So I'm probably paying with the just the panel and the board more than most people will probably spend on a monitor, just for that. The panel, the speakers are bound to sound better than because you have got that room inside for the sound to reverberate, and I've got a feeling that the vents on the top might be acting a little bit like because on the back of these I did one without it and I did one with it, and I put this little hole in the back to let the air come in for the bass, and it does seem to help. I mean, but it did seem to make a difference. But the inside this case with that sound end in the back, it's pretty good. But again, you'd have to hear it in Question: are you happy to post a link for the actual speakers you're using? Yeah, I've got no problem with that at all. I just don't know what. I've got no problem with that at all. Just trying to think if I've got. I think. Did I find a box? Oh, here it is. Here. Now let's get this. Look now. Can you? Oh, it's the wrong camera, isn't it? You can't read that. Let me switch, because I've got no problem people knowing this. Here, they're called Visiton, and that is the speaker that I'm experimenting with at the moment. They're about £6 each. So the only thing is I don't think it actually matters, and cleverer people than me will comment on this. But someone said about putting in shielded speakers so that the CRT is not affected. That's not a CRT. How close are you going to put a CRT to it? I kind of don't think you would, but having said that, these ones are shielded and they're really nice. So these are bloody expensive. These are like $30 a pair. And they're really heavy. I love these speakers. I mean, I was going to put these in, and the only reason I put the others in because they did kind of sound really nice, but this is a cleaner sound. But I think that other one suits the monitor more. But I think having because some people are going to want to buy it without speakers. It's not going to add much to the cost to actually have speakers put in there. But as you know, I mark up the extras a little bit more to try and pull back a little bit of profit. But you can always buy your own. But again, there will be a fitting kit for it. I don't know how it's going to work. Again, I haven't finally decided how I'm doing that yet. But you'll be able to fit your own speakers. I had considered making it so you can put 3-inch or 4-inch, but I don't know if the money's going to be there to mould to do it. That's a little bit up in the air. I'd rather just go 4-inch speakers and just screw these in, because the other thing about these is they're very deep, whereas these are quite slim. They're bigger, but they're slim. They're lighter as well, which in my head, it's like, well, it's lighter, it's not as good, is it? But again, the smaller ones are better quality, I think. If someone reminds me, I'll post a link to it because it's no big secret. Visitron, I got them from. Bloody good question, actually. One of the big providers. Stick a message up. Someone put a message up onto my Facebook group. I'll obviously approve it, and then the guy who pointed me there, and we'll put that up, so make it available so you know. May I ask what the panel's resolution will be? Yeah, you can ask. Yeah. Well, look, there's no secret to it. It's at the moment it's a 1280 by 1024, and I know some people are going to say, well, that's not 4x3 because that's a 1280 by 960. Yeah, but then Amiga doesn't want a 4x3. It wants it, so it's. 1280 by 1024. You can't get the other panels necessarily good. Look, people have to understand actually to buy panels that are reasonable cost. If you're not Samsung or Apple, it's not easy. You can get them. I'm not even pointing to the place where you can get them, but it's a balancing act. And so the 1280 by 1024 is fantastic. That's a fantastic display, and this is for retro machines. This is not modern stuff. But even modern, I'd run, because I don't even run it at 1280 by 1024 because it's too bloody resolution. I run 1024 768 for my stuff, and then all the others it'll run Amiga PAL interlace, it'll run NTSC, it'll run any skin. It will just automatically kind of scale it. And if you've got if you get the GBS with the remote control, the firmware. You can play to your heart's content. So it's a lovely panel. I'm not going to give you the panel make yet details. I will when we do the Kickstarter, and I will point people who want to know. They can go and look at the page and read every single little bit of data about it. But it's a decision I've had to make, and I did look for 1600, 1200s. And people have asked about, what about 15 kilohertz? They're nuts. I mean, seriously. Even there's one company out there doing them, and they haven't got any. They can't get them. They just can't buy them. So it doesn't matter because this will run 15 kilohertz stuff. It just doubles the frequency up to VGA, and then it runs great. And if you watch, in fact, one of the things, because I know people say, latency this, latency that. There's a Retro RGB did a fantastic report on this GBS with the new firmware, and the latency is absolutely fantastic. It's low, really low, and it's got features look, I'll give you an example, right? Here's my OSSC. I don't use it no more. I didn't really use it anyway, to be fair, but I bought it. I thought I'd use it. And I actually prefer the GBS with this firmware control, with the firmware. It's much better because I had, on my 1000, I had a individual board in there, an A500 Plus board, ACA 500 Plus, and he wouldn't show the boot screen. The OSSC couldn't show that bloody boot screen. It was really annoying, but the GBS went bang, there it was, wallop. So I just dump the OSSC up there, but people have got this vision in their mind, and if you come along and see even the standard machine, you believe how good Amiga high-res interlace Amiga on this panel going through composite is amazing. It really is. It's flicker fixed, it looks great. Yes, it's composite, right? But it's stabilised it, it's denoised it. It just looks really good. Now, as soon as you put it in component or you put it in RGB, it's better. But I've never seen. Back in the day, I'd have killed for that composite display. So, you've got to see it. But people always go on about 15 kilohertz. Why? I don't bloody 15 kilohertz. I've got really bad eyes because of that. Anyway, I do like that this panel can get quite bright. That will come in handy when one uses scanline filters via software. Yeah, it is pretty bright. Well, again, I don't want to give specs, because if I give specs and then I change it, I've got a lot of people going around talking about the specs of an old panel. I don't think I'm going to change. I'm still happy with this panel, and the supplies have been very good. So, are you able to run down inputs? Sorry, just joined. I don't know what you mean by run down inputs. Let me just swap the screen. I'll show you. Here's a good example. Right, you can see this here on the back here. If I put the mouse pointed down here, so this is down here. Is the base. This bottom one is the one you're going to get originally with it. So it comes with obviously HDMI, VGA, 2 component inputs B and C, 1 component output, and then there's the audio input for the VGA, and then there's a USB input for memory sticks, so you can play movies, music, all that kind of stuff. At the top, ignore these two; they're not doing anything at the moment. But these are component input. Now the component, again, as I keep saying, the component input on this is absolutely wonderful. The only problem is it will not do 240p. It won't do. It will only do interlace modes, which is disappointing, but that's just the way it is. But you get it for free. It's in there. These are, again, the 2 composites. They're basically reproducing those 2 down there with phonos, and they've got the stereo audio input, which they share the same stereo audio input. And on this one here, you can see is the output for the audio. So whatever's playing on the speakers comes out those two, comes out of them two. So if you want to stream it, say you was happy to stream with composite. I know people weren't. Oh, I don't want to do it. If you wanted to do that, now I'm not saying that's the end of it, but you can actually come in, play it, and output it. It's really quite useful. And being able to switch between 2 composite inputs, again sharing the audio input. The next one up is the GBS 8200, and so that's the VGA port there. I don't know what's got to be. I don't use that to be honest. There's the component input, and up here is the SCART input, RGB SCART input. And that then goes through the firmware, which has got all this really clever stuff, which really does. And it's one of those you control it in a web browser on your mobile phone or tablet or whatever. And once you set it up and save it, it's done. The top one, this board is for the RetroTinks. So you can see I've got 2 boards in, which you wouldn't put 2 boards in. But you can see, so it's designed to basically hold them. That's not very good, is it? Because I've got it focused away. But you can see they're both in there. But you don't have one or the other. If you're wondering what these are, they're just little bars that go around, and it allows you to press the back button. Okay. Yeah. So you can press the button from here, and that will be just a kit that you can buy, and you can put your own board in. SCART RCA, what are the inputs for the screen? I think I just answered that. I'm thinking that the full component input will be handy for my old DVDs. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and you can, because you've got 2, so and you've got B and C as well. So if you've got your machine's got B and C, it's just great. And as I said, that the composite on this is amazing. It really is good. So the way it does it, and if you've got an interlace composite, it's flicker fixed. I mean, it really is, and it's stabilised, and it's as good as you'll ever see a composite signal. Now, is there latency on the built-in composite? Probably a bit of latency. I have no doubt about it. I can't test it. I've been trying to buy one of those testers. For my eye, I can't see it. I don't notice it when I'm playing it, but I'm sure there will be latency on the board. It's not going to be as good as a RetroTink, but you could buy a RetroTink and just fit it internally, or the GBS. GBS doesn't do composite, does it? Or technically maybe, but if you want Super VHS, a lot of people have asked this, because you can see I've got my Atari 800, which has got a Super VHS and composite. You just plug it into a RetroTink, and it goes in HDMI. So the speakers are Visiton or Visitron. Did I call it Visitron? Okay. almost as many inputs as my late 90s hi-fi Glads thingy things. It is like an old hi-fi, isn't it? Also, the rib panels are white on here. I've actually sprayed them to make them look a little bit better, but the final parts are going to be metal, unless we have a ton of extras and it goes ballistic, and then I can afford to have them done in plastic. But those mount frames that you can see here, these mount frames here, they will be made out of metal. Now, you haven't got to worry about a signal because the above it is plastic, so you can still communicate with the GBS. So, and they'll match the colours perfectly, obviously. Will the pull rods and the pods be labelled on the back plate like with 3D? Oh, I don't know. I mean, look, at the moment this is 3D printed. It's actually not. I mean, I've got to redesign it for metal. But these will probably be 3D printed. I don't know exactly yet. I mean, I wanted to mould these. Let's get back. I wanted to mould this, but it's just too much money to make a mould. But again, we'll see how things go. How's the time going? God, it's 6:15. Right, so I think I've shown quite a bit. As I said, the next video, well, probably if I do one next week, I'll have the GBS, because I was going to have that all in there working today, but I ran out of time for the cables, making the cables, so I just got the baseboard in there. And again, as I said, there's going to be a breakout board, a second board in there. You just run cables to it. And it's just screwed in, so it's a lot neater and better signals, that kind of thing. Maybe if there's enough room for us to apply our own labels, might be good enough. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean. Right. So, okay, on the fronts, what I'm kind of considering doing is on here we'll have this is not good, is it? Let me switch over. What's the process? I forgot what the bloody process is called. Screen printed. Get some screen printed text on here, like Paul did on the things, and also the top of the text will have a colour, probably a colour on it. Did talk about doing make it shiny like Paul's render, which looked great, but it's probably gonna. They said, now we can do that, is to stick these on, and we're not doing that, so probably just stencil on it with a grey or something like that, or maybe black, I don't know, just to make it stand out more. But yeah, so just to have something on there so we know what. Well, you here it just say user ports, because I don't know what we're going to put in it. But these will be, and again, there'll be nice little buttons along. There'll be nice little buttons along here rather than just these little netty holes. It was only just meant for me. I don't even use it. I just use remote control all the time. You'll get a remote control, and that's just goes, feeds in through there. But yeah, so the prototypes turned up. They weren't without problems, obviously, and I've already modified the designs for most of it, not all of it. I've still got the 17-inch panel one to do, but I'm really pleased. I think it looks really nice on top of the 1000. Yes, it is a bit bright, and again, as I said, the lighting in here, and my 1000 is quite aged. It's 35, 37 years old, something like that. So she's looking quite aged. Don't forget there'll be a black version of this as well, which I think will look fantastic. As for fast progress, no, I think it's pretty slow. Because it's the day job business, isn't it? It's like a nightmare. Still trying. I wish I could just, maybe just do this full time, but at the moment it's not possible. If there's any more questions, I'm going to call it. If there's no more questions, I'm going to call it a day. I'm happy to stay and answer questions, but if there's no more questions, I've not really got an awful lot to talk about at the moment. I'm getting a bit of a headache. So you got any questions? If you got any questions, shove them in the box, and I'll answer them. But where's time to pass? I'll give you a chance. If you're wondering what the beer is, my wife went out. Yes. Oh, will this display 50 Hertz Amiga signals in the USA? Well, yeah, because that kind of thing doesn't matter now. So this will take an NTS. Well, look, if you put an NTSC signal into it, you're going to get 60 Hertz. If you put a PAL signal into it, you should get 50 Hertz. It should be fine. Because the internal chip would just switch it to the 50 Hertz or 60 Hertz. Because I can put NTSC in and run great, and I have no doubt you'll be able to put the PAL signal into there, and it will work just fine. So you'll be able to run PAL. This is the great thing about these modern displays. You can put an NTSC or PAL signal into it, and it will just display it, and the panel will just switch between, because you see this switch between 50 and 60 Hertz. When it comes up, and unfortunately it comes up, it's a bit too long. It's sitting up there a bit too long, which is annoying. And I might see we've still got some firmware changes to make, and I might ask them to just turn that off and only have it if you press the button to display it, because it's a pain in the butt. But we've done a few things like change it to black, so it goes to black instead. It used to go to blue, which was terrible. But yeah. Oh yeah, Spitfire. Yeah, it's alright. I mean, I actually like Abbott. It's Abbott. I like the old ales. This is a bit plain and boring for me, but my lovely wife went out and made sure I had some beer for the stream. So you lot didn't think that she didn't get me any. My little 3-year-old now goes and says, "Don't forget beer for Daddy." Right. Okay, so there's not many more questions, so I'm going to cut the stream short now. What I'll do is, if you're on my Facebook group, then you can. I'm putting most of the stuff up there. Occasionally, I'll put stuff up onto Patreon first, like I did the video. Some of the stuff I put up there first, because people are actually really nicely, kindly supporting me. Doesn't matter how much. I mean, I've always said I'd like hundreds of $1 supporters. And if I could get that up, I could just quit my day job and just concentrate on this. And trust me, things would move so much quicker. But I've got lots of plans, and they're being held up because I can't do this full time. So, we'll see. Hope, fingers crossed for the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter probably in the next. Hopefully, it'll be just at the time of the OLL show or just after. I mean, I'm pretty much ready. I've just got to do now I've got these prototypes. Once I've built the second one and I've done some more testing, I'm going to do some videos of the monitors, and then a Kickstarter introduction, and then like this video is all about the project, and like I did with the last one. But it will obviously be. It's not going to be Amiga, because this is aimed at all communities, to widen the reach. I think I've set this so that I had to sell 850 to succeed. I was originally going to do 1,000, but I think I budgeted it. God, it's difficult budgeting this thing. To not make it too expensive but not too cheap. I can't lose money on it, and you don't know what's going to go wrong. But if I could sell a couple of thousand of these things, that's it. Day job, that's it. No problem with day job, and then I can really go to town on what plans I've got, because I still want to do a keyboard. I know that people are doing keyboards, but I want to do a nice Cherry keyboard. I've got a company already that says they'll make me one, but I was going to say about mice, but I quite like the 3000 mouse, but there's that lovely little one that Kickstarter that's out. In fact, actually, let me just switch over to here. So you can see the Kickstarter page is there, but it's private. It's not. This is not launched yet. But you can still up. You probably already gathered a little bit there for the first amount. You know, so there's nothing really in it yet, but it's just you know, getting that ready. Hopefully I'll have that done, and then because I want to start it in line with the show. And you turning me off again, are you, silly camera? I want to do it in line with the OLL show, because I think the people come along, see it, and then go and, you know, back it. That's the plan. Question: do you already have you already chosen an official name for the monitor? So it's going to be branded Checkmate. Oh well, actually, technically, yeah, because we're calling it the 1087 and 1089. And the reason for that is, I think, fairly obvious. The 1084 was a 14-inch. The 1087 is a 17-inch, and the 1089 is a 19-inch. And it's got that whole, you know, naming thing, and no one can moan at me because of the name, because they didn't exist. But it'll be branded Checkmate. And because I think people recognise it, and that name goes back 30 odd years. So I think it's got a little bit of legacy here. And of course, the other thing is, because you can fit either a Raspberry Pi setup or a D10 Nano setup, a Mister setup. You know, I think it's going to make a great little computer to pick up and take to somewhere. Just plug it all in, you know, a show, that kind of thing. Absolutely, really, really. It's that handle. That handle's just really good, you know. And I'm really quite chuffed with it, to be fair. Let's put it back up here. Yeah. Let's see if I can put this on here. If I put this in here, give you an idea what it's going to look like. So that's the 17-inch one. It's very hard to tell actually without a screen in it. But no, they go together nice, and it feels nice as well. These 3D printed ones where the company do it, they're just like, they're almost like injection molded parts. It's really, you get a really good feel for what it's going to be like. As I said before, I may make it a bit more curvy. Although I put quite a bit of curving on it to curve the outer corners, I may make it a little bit more. I don't know yet. But yeah, so right, okay. I'm gonna call it a night now. So thanks for joining me. Hope it was interesting. And I hope you'll back it and tell everyone. So one thing I will be asking when it comes to Kickstarter, please tell everyone, because I've got to sell so many. Well, the Checkmate 1500 cases, I sold 650. Now obviously this monitor's going to be more expensive, but you know, you know, if you, I can't talk about price because I don't want to yet. I don't want to preempt anything, but it's, you know, it most of this other stuff out there is a lot more expensive. So anyway, thanks for taking time, and I'm gonna go now because I'm gonna get a bit of a headache. All right, again, thanks very much, and where's my stop streaming button? See you later. Thank you.